Hi, this is Adam Tomicek. If you want to learn some interesting facts about Dakar and what makes us all want to go back there, stay tuned and watch on Schwarz Motorcycle.
Hi, it's Elias here again, and today we've made it to a wintry season. Adam, at Dakar, you said it was too hot. Well, I guess you don't have anything to complain about now.
Exactly. At Dakar, it used to get really, really hot. It also used to get really cold. In season, it's winter, full on winter. As you can see, we've had a ton of snow, so it's definitely a complete change of scenery.
When you go back home, the temperature difference was almost 50 degrees, right? From plus 30 to minus 20. How did your body adapt to that?
You know, when I got back, I was pretty worn out from the whole adventure and everything that happened there. So for the first 2 weeks, apart from visits to the doctor, I just stayed at home. So the temperature didn't really affect me that much. I needed to catch my breath a bit and wait for all the emotions to just settle down.
And I wasn't really drawn to the motorcycle either, because when it's winter, you just don't feel like riding as much.
Yeah, that's true too. Plus, even as I was coming back from Dakar, I told myself that there would be a break from the motorcycle for a while. On top of that, the weather is what it is. So for now, luckily, I don't really feel the urge to get back in the saddle.
You've completed 4 Dakars. You've said many times that for you, as for most motorcyclists, is the fulfillment of a dream. Tell me, do you remember what you felt before your first Dakar?
Fear, above all, it was this belief that I was actually going to compete there, that I was heading to such a huge event. Well, Dakar is an enormous challenge. You have to prepare for it all year. It's always in the back of your mind. With each passing month, the pressure builds. So that first time was definitely the most nerve-wracking and full of unknowns. Now I have a bit more experience, but before every trip to Dakar, there's always a lot of stress and anxiety. And really, the challenge is huge. You prepare yourself, but what will actually happen on site, you never truly know until the end.
Back then, everything happened very quickly because it was the Morocco rally, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, at that time, everything was sorted out at the very last minute. I had never had any experience with a Dakar bike or with long distance racing at all. Throughout the entire year of 2016, at the Megawatt event, there was talk that there might be a chance that there could be a spot, that there was a potential opportunity to take part in the Dakar. But in order to even be accepted onto the list, you have to have completed the World Cup and proven yourself in those kinds of competitions. So right after the main season, I quickly went to the Rally of Morocco, and from the Rally of Morocco, I went straight to the 6 days in Spain. And after the 6 days, I still had one round of the European Championship. So really, I just kept going from one event to the next. And well, what can I say? It was going quite well. I was close, but in the end, I didn't quite make it.
As you said, you've competed in many disciplines. And do you even remember what surprised you the most at that Dakar? The first one? Because dreams are one thing, but when you actually arrive, it's what you've always imagined. And then comes the moment of reality check.
Definitely, the thing that struck me was the temperature there, the whole environment. It's really something completely different from what you can experience in Europe. And above all, the hours spent on the motorcycle, yes. Still, even if you train for long sessions, let's say even 5 or 6 hours of training, when you finish, you go back home, you eat something good, right? You have your own bed, you just rest. But there, from the moment you actually leave home, you're constantly on the road, always covering kilometers, and there's practically no chance for a normal rest, right? Even when you're resting, at best you're resting in the camper, but mechanics are always working nearby, testing cars, motorcycles, generators are running, and so on. So from the very moment you actually leave your home, you're constantly and continuously on the move. And I truly think that's the absolute hardest part of it, Alan. It's only like this at these specific high stakes competitions. Even at a World Cup qualifier, the base of operations is in one fixed place. We have a comfortable hotel, we do a loop, then we return to our quiet room and have ample time to properly rest and recuperate. Here, the whole town, everyone is constantly on the move, so it's exhausting for everyone and definitely the most difficult part. So aside from the driving itself, the navigation and everything that happens strictly on the special stage, it's definitely the fact that there's very, very little time for anything, and you constantly have to be on the move or always driving, basically living on the road.
As you mentioned earlier, you started with motocross, then there was enduro, and you could say hard enduro is basically right next door. You also tried Baja rallies. Tell me, which of these disciplines helps the most in long distance rallies like Dakar?
What helps the most? Definitely the biggest advantage is having as many kilometers as possible with the road book, but also in actual competitions, because when you train with the road book just out in the open, that's great too. It's definitely good, solid training, but all those GPS devices and hitting waypoints only really come into play during actual competitions, just like you have to do in Dakar. So for sure, the number of kilometers and cross-country rally events are the most important things in all of this, and you have to spend a lot of time in the desert. As for all the other training, whether it's enduro, motocross, and so on, I think those develop you in a different way. They develop you technically and as a motorcyclist in terms of handling the bike so you can ride it faster. But unfortunately, in Dakar, there are a lot more of those other factors that end up affecting your results. And honestly, things like going fast over bumps or your speed in a corner aren't really what's most important in this kind of competition. There, above all, you need to ride thoughtfully, be able to read the terrain and focus on navigation. And riding speed is actually secondary in this kind of competition.
So, how do you best prepare for Dakar?
A lot of physical training and as many rallies as possible throughout the year. It's also great if possible and your health allows to definitely go either in November or, for example, stay after the Morocco rally, or just try to ride in terrain that is the same as what you'll encounter at Dakar. In my case, the more time you spend in open spaces, the more your eyes and your body get used to it. And then everything goes a bit easier at Dakar.
Well, this year was unusual. There weren't many opportunities for the kind of preparation you just mentioned, but you're one of those people, you're an athlete who trains incredibly hard, is tough, and never gives up. I know because I've had the chance to see it with my own eyes more than once, something that's often neither seen nor heard about in the media, and people just don't talk about it. So I wanted to ask you about your preparations, since it was a unique year with very limited possibilities. How did you approach this? I also know that you took a slightly different approach to this year's edition.
Yes, well, life forced me a bit, my health a bit, and also the whole situation in the world. During my trip to the Andalusia rally, I had also done the Baja rally before that. I spent over a month in the Portugal area, and I did a lot of riding there with the road book, all those high-speed sections, everything that those places offer, things we don't have here. I got to ride through all of that there, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily have the opportunity to just go out into the desert with a big motorcycle, and that was really important to me. If I was going to go abroad, I wanted to train on a big bike. And then the Andalusia rally came up, where I finished in 10th place. And the conclusion was that my riding pace is really good, but I lack endurance when it comes to staying focused and grinding through those long hours of riding. So given the options available, I decided to stay here locally. I'll just take a break from living out of a suitcase, hotels, and all that, and I'll spend this time training in the mountains. So I trained and it went well. I really felt good before leaving for Dakar. At Dakar, my plan was simply to start off a bit slower, to give myself time to find my rhythm, and then just go fast towards the end. Last year, I started off like a racehorse on the first stages. And what did it matter that I was in a pretty good position there if I didn't make it to the finish line? So, looking at all of this, I decided to focus on being in the best possible shape physically, to be as well rested as possible, and to simply have the greatest desire to ride through the desert so that I wouldn't be tired in any way. And so, well, it turned out the way it did. I was riding well. I think the standings were still open enough that I could have really secured a great position. Last year, I had dozens of dangerous situations and adventures on every single stage. This year I had only one, and unfortunately it was the one that ended my participation in the rally. But what can you do? It's another lesson, more conclusions to draw. The preparations I made were completely different. There were definitely a few weak points, but that's just the life. There are things you can't control that affect how things turn out. So that's how it was for me. That was the opportunity I had. That's the decision I made. I was satisfied with my preparations. Dakar didn't go my way, but unfortunately, that's just how this rally is, and that's that. You just have to push a bit harder and try again.
Every year, almost half the field doesn't finish Dakar because that's pretty much what the statistics show.
That's just how it is, unfortunately.
So I wanted to, I know it's not a pleasant topic to talk about, but I still wanted to go through what happened one more time because I think not many people are really aware of what actually happened out there in the desert this year. And why weren't you able to make it to the finish? Do you even remember the whole accident?
Yeah, well, the accident is actually the funniest thing. I mean, funniest. The thing is, the twist is that there actually wasn't any serious crash or hitting the ground at all. The situation was that I was just riding calmly along a gravel road, nothing out of the ordinary, when suddenly there started to be these patches of blown sand. So, of course, you just kept riding through those sand drift zone 2, 3, 8, 10, and finally, on one of them, I got bounced so hard that my legs shot up into the air. I basically did a Superman on the handlebars. I managed to get back onto the seat, so I didn't go flying over the handlebars. And when I landed back on the seat, of course, my legs were hanging off to the side. I didn't even have time to put them back on the foot pegs. Everything happened so fast. So after all that chaos, I ended up back on the seat on this speeding motorcycle. And in the desert, there are often these cracks where the ground splits apart, and generally it tends to collapse later, and this one was shaped like a V. Me with my legs sticking out to the sides. Just moments after I got the bike under control, I didn't even have time to catch my breath. I took such a hard hit that my entire spine just compressed. So what happened next? I stopped. Everything went black before my eyes. I stopped to catch my breath, to pull myself together and see what was going on. Basically, I stood next to the motorcycle, got off. Everything seemed to be fine, so despite the discomfort, I thought, what the heck? I'll try to ride a bit further ahead. Maybe these kinds of compression impacts actually happen quite often, and usually after a while it all passes, the body starts to feel normal again. But here, just riding in a straight line, my right foot kept slipping off the footpeg over and over again. And no, even when I try to stand on the foot pegs, I can't control that leg at all. I have to hang on to the handlebars using my arms because my left leg can still manage a bit, but the right one is just goni muscles, don't tense up at all. There's no strength in it. And so I slowly made my way to the bivouac like that. There, they gave me a CT scan. I talked to the doctor, saw a physiotherapist, and so on. But in the morning, any movement like abducting my leg to get on the motorcycle was completely impossible. Basically, if someone pinched or touched me, I could feel something, but in any case, I wasn't able to control that leg. And since it was really just the beginning of the rally and everything was only starting to get going, I decided that I wouldn't take the risk because even a seemingly minor fall there could end very badly. You know, risking the possibility of having partial paralysis in my leg for the rest of my life, I decided it just wasn't worth it. And, you know, Dakar happens every year, but you only have one life and one health. So whether I wanted to or not, I think it was the only reasonable decision I could make at that stage of the rally.
I saw you ride the whole season with a broken arm, so I know you're not the kind of guy who likes to give up or even really knows how to. So you had to learn that over many years and let's say through painful experiences.
Well, the desert, you know, the desert really put that to the test. And that's exactly where these rallies can teach you very, very quickly just how small and weak a person is when it comes to fighting the elements. In a motocross race, you can push yourself in enduro too, but here it lasts 2 weeks. And really, plus my whole medical history, everything my body has already had to endure. I just didn't want to take another bucket of painkillers and risk even bigger health problems. Like I said, if everything goes well and I have the desire and the means, Dakar is there every year, right? And when it comes to health, if you get too fired up and overdo it, you can push your limits, but you also have to be moderate about it. I struggled with injuries for many years and raced with various injuries, and here common sense finally prevailed. I also won't hide the fact that I believe I'm capable of achieving a good result in these kinds of rallies, and that's what I want to fight for. But riding somewhere at the back, hurting, half conscious, and looking for an even harder crash, there's just no point in that.
So Dakar can break even the toughest guys.
Well, Dakar can probably break anyone, right? In general, it's a rally that's all about breaking through your limits. Everyone there has their own crises. I think there's no one who can prepare themselves to go full throttle for 14 days straight. Everyone faces crises. And the one with the stronger mind who can endure more, that's the person who gets further and simply achieves better results.
As you said, Dakar can break anyone. You've already experienced that painfully more than once, yet you still feel drawn to the desert. Do you still want to go back there? Tell me, what is it about this? Because everyone I see, once they go there, it's hard for them not to come back and try to settle the score. And even after they do, they want to improve their result.
That's how it is. It pulls you in, it really draws you in. No, I can't really tell you what this phenomenon is about, but it's true that whether you make it through or not, as soon as you get back home, there's always this thought, what's the point of all this? The slaughterhouse, it's really, torture, isn't it? You definitely need to have a huge tolerance for pain, for exhaustion, for all of it. And I don't even know if I could do it again. When I finished in 2019, I thought, okay, I made it. I got a pretty decent place and I'm not doing it again. But then half a year goes by and, you start thinking, well, maybe I would try it one more time after all. Yeah, for sure. It definitely has a truly significant and substantial pull. But what exactly it is, I honestly cannot really tell you right now at this very moment.
Okay, so you still need a few more good Dakars. Maybe then, although I think looking at Peter Hansel or the other guys who've been there their whole lives, they probably still don't know either.
That's what's interesting about it, isn't it? These guys are 50, 60 years old and they still keep coming back. So I don't know, it really is the pinnacle of off-road racing, isn't it? And even though it's so incredibly tough there, people still want to come and there's never a shortage of participants for this rally. Well, we'll see. So far, out of 4 starts, I've only finished once. That was in 16th place too. I think there's a chance to beat that. For now, I'm facing every possible complication. But looking at it from the perspective of my years on a motorcycle, those streaks of crashes and injuries eventually come to an end and better days do come. So I hope it'll be the same with Dakar.
So tell us, because you almost lost your life once in the desert during your debut. Now, you could almost say you were at risk of losing the use of your leg, because that's how it is.
The facts are hard to accept. That's true.
So that's why I'm asking, aren't you afraid to go there? What do you even think about before another Dakar when you're heading there? Because you already talked about the first time, but what about the next ones?
I mean, aren't you afraid? Well, generally you should be afraid when you go there, right? That's kind of the point. It's kind of about the fact that everyone is scared and no one knows. I mean, everyone is scared, and those who aren't, the list of people who have died there is really long. So I think it's just natural and necessary to be afraid and to have respect for the desert. But I guess the challenge itself is just so incredibly difficult, and so few people make it each year that it's simply what drives everyone, right? These are simply the most important competitions, aren't they? You can win everything else around, but the one who wins the Dakar is the biggest badass, right? And it really is like that. No matter if someone comes from motocross, supermoto, or hard enduro, when they hit 40, they want to be there, right? For example, David Knight is a good example. He's won Erzberg World Enduro Championships and so on. And what then? And now, after such a break, after some surgeries and joint replacements, he's coming back, right? And now he's going to ride again and try to get back into that crowd just to keep riding there. So, it's just the elite class, isn't it? And no one or nothing is likely to change that. The rally has been going on for so many years. It's become such a legend that it will probably stay that way. And for sure, those results in Dakar are the most valuable and the most loved by everybody, the competitors, the fans, and the media.
That's true. Well, let's wrap it up because here,
Yeah, we are shaking quite a bit.
so maybe you could just say to those people you mentioned from motocross, enduro, and other sports, those guys and women who dream of Dakar, tell them, is it worth it? Is it worth spending the money, risking your health just to see it and experience it?
Yeah, it's worth it. You know, it's worth pursuing your dreams, right? You have to have some goals in life, something to strive for, and it's definitely an adventure. I mean, it's like sailing around the world or climbing 8,000ers, right? Very few people actually decide to do it. Very few come out of it unscathed, and I think it's worth it. Well, it's definitely something. After all, you only have one life, so you should see and try as many things as possible. If someone likes motorcycles, cars, and these kinds of challenges, then it's definitely worth it, and you should push yourself and try to get there.
So, as you heard, it's worth pursuing your dreams and going after what you want. Adam, above all, we wish you good health and the fulfillment of your next dreams and goals because I know there are still a few interesting things left on your list. So, we're keeping our fingers crossed for you.
We'll see how it goes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.